Welcome back, my friends, to Lockdown Universe. Bringing it back. I hope you guys are having a great night. Welcome back, welcome back. We are going to talk about angels and demons. We're going to talk about vampires and angels. We're going to talk about a story of a woman who worked as a receptionist at a hospital in Iowa who had two vampires walk into her lobby asking permission to come in. So let's talk about that, and we'll talk about an angel that saved a gentleman who may not have been an angel, but it's something much more mysterious. So let's get into it. Alright. Thank you, Scott Stapp and Creed, for their acoustic version of My Sacrifice, their hit song from the 2003 album Weathered. If you haven't heard that album, go pull it up on Spotify right after you listen to Lockdown Universe and listen to it, because it is great. Okay, I'm going to pause that because I'm hurting for data right now. My computer's, well, I'm not hurting for data. I've paid for good internet. It's just that my computer's really slow because it's not charging as well as it was. So I just got to charge up a little bit here. Okay, the story goes as this. We're going to talk about the Strigoi vampires, and we're going to talk about who they are in just a moment. But the story comes from a young lady in rural Iowa who states, "My mom has worked at a small rural hospital in eastern Iowa for about 6 years. She is the ER receptionist, so she's the first person you see when you come into the emergency room. The one to give you all the paperwork to fill out and such. Throughout these 6 years, she's mostly worked nights, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Well, that's when you see the most crazy shit. Well, probably the most supernatural shit. Most crazy shit probably happens on B shift. Because people get tired and they want to go to bed, but they also want to go home. So, in the story, she states that she has seen the town's cast of characters. Every transient, druggie, and local has passed through the lobby. She has seen each one at least twice. But one night, she encountered something she had never seen before or seen again since. Back in the first year, my mom was quick to get the hang of things, so she was left alone to work at the counter. The ER faced the parking lot so she could see people coming in from far away. She could anticipate their moves. One night, at about 2 a.m., she was working on her computer and looked up and was surprised to see two people standing there, a man and a woman, just standing there, staring at her, and she stared back. The parking lot was dark. There was no car in sight. They had just appeared right in front of her. After a long moment, they came into the lobby and went right up to the desk. So she must have been looking through the doors, and then they came through the doors and into the lobby. My mom said the alarm bells started to go off in her head, and something wasn't right. For one thing, they were very tall. The desk my mom sat at would come up to about mid-chest on an average person. With these people, my mom could see the pelvic bone of the woman. The pelvic bone of the woman. That's because they were dressed for cooler weather, even though it was summer. That's interesting. She must have been wearing something where she could see the pelvic bone, though, right? They were also very skinny, and my mom emphasized this. Very dry looking. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because if you think about a vampire, maybe they're dry because they haven't had blood, right? Haven't had their daily V8. But they didn't look like your typical druggies, she stated. The woman kept stroking her neck with long fingers. saying she had a sore throat. My mom, for the first and only time, didn't say a word. She just looked at him. A word kept repeating in her head. Strigoi. Strigoi. As my mom looked at them, the woman looked at the man, looked back at my mom, and then at the man again. The whole time just smiling and stroking her throat. And said to the man, "Do you think she will let us through? Or should we go somewhere else?" My mom stayed silent as the woman repeated the pattern of looks to the man, to her, and then back to the man. And they both smiled at my mother, and they left. Okay, so we're going to keep continuing on the story here. Hopefully it lets us. Almost immediately after, my mom texted me asking if vampires needed permission to enter places like hospitals. Isn't it weird that your mom would text you? Don't you think the moms and mothers would know this already? This is common, everyday knowledge of vampires. I told her that since she was technically the person to say who went back to the ER, they would need her permission. We both knew that the Strigoi was a type of Romanian vampire mythos, and that the word she kept hearing in her mind was that. I wonder if they were saying that, will she let us go back there because there was one of their own family back there, or one of the victims that they were going to try to pull out of there, or, they didn't have the information about the particular person they were trying to visit, and therefore, wouldn't be let back because there was no reason because they didn't have the information about the patient. That's what I'm thinking, right? I mean, vampires do need permission to come in, but, that's old story stuff, and this is a hospital. It's not a house. The doors open and close by themselves. But if you're invisible to mirrors, are you also invisible to, whatever the motion sensor is, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting question to ask. So, she stated she had never seen that couple again, and we still talk about what happened. And it does make me wonder, when I hear the stories of black-eyed kids and other tales of vampires, what did she see that night? And how close was she to seeing something unreal? So that's her story, and she's sticking to it. But let's find out what the Strigoi really are. I had never really heard about them. Now, I can say I have my previous partner was Romanian, and she was a nightmare. And I could tell you that she did look like she was a vampire when she was pissed off. Her entire facial structure would change. It was very fearsome, and I think she was partially telepathic, too. The Strigoi in Romanian mythology, people from Romania are a different breed, man, I'm telling you, are troubled spirits that are said to have risen from the grave. They are attributed with abilities to transform into an... Just as I'm reading this, my computer screen totally flipped out. It totally came up with like a matrix-like code and disappeared immediately. It's something that's happened on this computer a couple of times, but weird that it came up when I'm reading about Romanian vampires. So they are attributed with the abilities to transform into an animal, become invisible, and to gain vitality from the blood of their victims. Bram Stoker's Dracula may be a modern interpretation of the Strigoi through their historic links with vampiricism, but the Strigoi is a Romanian word that originated from a root related to its Latin terms of strix or striga. Trying to figure out what the hell the derivatives are and what the terms are. The root has been related particularly to owls, and then strega is a Venetian word which means witch, and the Italian stregone has a parallel suffix which means sorcerer, and strigue in French means bird woman who sucks the blood of children. So all of these terms in all these different languages, even in Polish, Strzyga, uh, are also similar in their meanings and orientations. It is related to a Romanian verb striga, which means to scream. That's interesting too. So the Strigoi, the historical Strigoian vampire lore goes way back into the 16th century from a region called Istria. The villager believed to have been the first real person described as a vampire was referred to as a Strigoi, according to the contemporary local records. This is interesting. His name was Jure, Jure, Grando Aliyovich, and he was supposed to have terrorized his former village 16 years after his death. That's interesting, isn't it? Eventually, he was decapitated by local priests and villagers. Interesting. I have not heard this story, but it definitely is worth looking into. So, anyway, Dracula comes from this area, from Romania, Transylvania. Romania is Transylvania, just change the name of the country. But anybody with the last name that ends in SCU, school, like Romanescu or Florescu, all from Romania. I'm not saying Romanians are all bad. I'm just saying my ex was. So, but it's a different area, man. It's different area, different conditions, different belief systems, and vampire mythology all comes from the same area, Romania. So, you take it for what it's worth. So, anyway, let's talk about the angel story. I don't know what to think of this one. I mean, could it have just been some gothic kids out on a prowl just having fun and they were like, just happened to be super tall? Yeah. I mean, they didn't manipulate the receptionist mother. They didn't take her blood or anything. They didn't even theoretically use any powers on her or anything either. But they did ask kind of her permission in a roundabout way. So that's kind of one meaning behind it. And if the name Strigoi kept going around in her head, well, did they implant it there, or is that just something that she knew? According to the story, it's a word that she knew. It's not a word a lot of people know. Is it a word that her subconscious or her conscious was telling her that's what these guys are, or was it kind of transmitted from these beings into her? I don't know, but it is an interesting story. I find it fascinating, and we'd like to interview the mother to gather some more information. And it is a hospital, right? So wouldn't they have some videotape of the front area and people coming in through the front? One would think so. Let's take a look at another story here. So here's another hospital story, but with an angelic twist. So this woman states, this occurred in the parking lot of the Emergency Services Clinic in Madison, Wisconsin. Madison is one of the biggest cities in America and constantly reported as being one of the nicest to live in. She stated that her father had been living with lymphoma for 5 years, but started exhibiting stroke-like symptoms one day in April. So she arrived at the clinic. She's about 45 minutes away, and no one was with my dad, not my mom, not any medical personnel. My father was in a pleasant but befuddled mood, able to chat but not clear on where people were. This was before anyone in my family had a cell phone. There was a phone on the wall next to Dad's bed, which I used to call my husband at work, who had agreed to be a communication point to ask what the hell was happening. I recall my spouse I recall hearing my spouse tell me that my father had been diagnosed with a brain tumor, and I'm staring at my dad, trying not to show shock. Um, my husband says my mom had called, and she hadn't found Dad's insurance card yet, and so that I should go to the house and look for it. But my mom was able to do that, so I could stay with my dad. I was numb. I drifted in a haze in my car to a very full parking lot. I rolled down my window, and as I started the car, the flood of tears came, and my sobbing was so physical that I couldn't back out of the spot. Suddenly, a middle-aged African-American woman appeared at my car window, asking if she could pray with me. I managed to nod my assent, and she reached to hold my left hand. I don't remember anything she said, but she was praying out loud. It calmed me, and I instantly gained the physical and mental strength to cope with this tragedy. Then suddenly she was gone. She simply vanished into thin air as I was looking at her. Oh, that's awesome. As she was looking at her, she vanishes into thin air. That's really unlikely. I'm totally convinced she was an angel. My dad's aggressive brain tumor, against all odds, and to the surprise of oncologists, disappeared within 3 months, and he lived another 12 years and eventually passed away, but not from lymphoma, by natural causes. He was 93 years old. You know, I had a similar occurrence to this, not as serious as a brain tumor, but my significant other has had a brain tumor, and it was very challenging. But that's not the point. The point was I went to the doctors, and I was very nervous about going to the doctor. I had to get blood taken, and I don't know if you're like me, but I had no intention on getting my blood taken. I did not want to get my blood taken. I never do like getting my blood taken. A lot of people pass out when they get their blood taken. I never have. I just don't like it, and I do feel woozy sometimes. And I was at the doctor's office a long time ago, and an African American gentleman came out, and he looked at me, he started talking about it, and I didn't know this guy from Adam, and he sat down, and he's like, everything's gonna be all right. He's like, don't worry. I just went ahead and did the same thing myself. He's like, I have the same issues. He's like, don't even worry about it. I'm like, how the hell does this guy even know what I was dealing with? Like, it was so out of the blue, it didn't even make any sense. Other than what he was saying, he basically knew what I was going through and what my mind was thinking. And it calmed me down so much that I decided to go in and do it, because I was kind of thinking about bailing at that point in the waiting room. So I went in, I did the thing, I came out. I told them about this guy. I told the nurses, and they're like, oh, yeah, I can't remember his name anymore. That's so-and-so. That's Jeremiah. I think his name might have been Jeremiah. That's Jeremiah. He comes in all the time. He's a good guy, da-da-da-da. They kind of played him off as, not serious, but this guy was his message was serious enough for me. And I appreciated it. And can't really explain it. So that's all I know. So I hope you enjoyed those two stories, because they resonate with me. At least the second one for sure. And I believe in ancient peoples. Native peoples, Native Americans, African Americans. Native peoples of the land, and sometimes the spirit can come up to you in different forms, and female, male, whatever somebody you might not expect to be talking to that day, but they can give you a message that just might change your life. So, what do they say? We entertain angels unaware. That's what it feels like to me sometimes. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you go. Thanks for listening. Keep your thoughts positive. Keep pushing out that white positive light. Take care of yourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally. Follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams. And as always, continue to question the universe around you. Until next time, guys, take care. Light the universe out. Peace.